People still ask me why I moved out of that apartment. Some think I couldn't pay the rent. Some guess I had a fight with my boyfriend. But none of them know the truth. The truth is, nobody should ever know what I found behind that wall. I only lived in that building for 6 months. It was an old, damp, cramped apartment building, but it was cheap and conveniently close to work. It was fine until I heard that sound. I first heard it in December, around 3:12 a.m. It sounded like someone was tapping inside the wall with their fingertips. 1, 2, 3, then silence. At first, I told myself it was just the building settling, the walls expanding from the temperature change. But it happened again the next night, at the exact same time. The same tapping, the same rhythm. This time, there was also a breathing sound. It was so close. It felt like someone was breathing right in my ear, but the sound was coming from inside the wall. A week later, the smell started. At first, it was just a damp, musty odor. Then, it became a rancid smell like spoiled meat that filled the entire room. I'd toss and turn in bed, covering my nose, but it was no use. One night, unable to sleep, I turned on the light. My eyes landed on the electrical outlet cover on the wall. It was slightly loose. I reached out and gently pulled. As the cover came off, a thin beam of light seeped out from the hole. I saw a figure moving around inside with a flashlight. My heart almost stopped. I quickly turned off my light, and from behind the wall, someone whispered, "You heard me too, didn't you?" The next day, I bought a cheap security camera. I placed it behind a ventilation grill, aiming to prove to myself that I was just going crazy. The next morning, I watched the footage. At exactly 3:12 a.m., the image went black. Then a hand reached out and covered the lens, but right before it did, a face appeared. Its eyes were almost completely white, and it was smiling. That morning, I called the police. They just said it could be a mouse or a pet. The building manager didn't care either. I decided I had to check it myself. I started pulling at the loose board on the wall. Behind it was just dust, cobwebs, and a few old newspapers. But right in the middle, there was a small hole, as if it had been carved out from the inside. I shone my phone's flashlight into it, and there was a hand, a dirty, bony hand. It suddenly recoiled back into the darkness. This time, the police came for real. They tore down the entire wall. Inside, there was a narrow space, maybe 2 meters long and 1 meter wide. A roll of bed sheets, a few water bottles, some canned food, and photographs hanging on the wall. They were photos of me sleeping in bed, me taking a shower, me watching television. They were all taken from inside the wall. A detective looked at me, holding an old phone. These photos were taken in the last 2 months. The man might still be here. The next day, they searched the entire building. Finally, they found him on the roof. He had been homeless for years, sneaking into buildings and living between people's walls. My apartment had been his longest stay. The police report mentioned a small notebook found in the man's pocket. It contained only one sentence, written over and over. He started hearing me too. After that, I moved to a completely different city. But every night at exactly 3:12 a.m., I still hear the same sound. 1, 2, 3 clicks, followed by a whisper. "Have you forgotten me?"